Hey guys. So, in a previous episode of Monocle and Spade, I interviewed professor and archaeologist Dr. Jody Magnus of UNC Chapel Hill. In the course of our conversation, she mentioned one of the most important archaeological discoveries since the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is quite remarkable. In fact, I remember when I read about this several years ago, I wondered why it didn't get a lot of traction. So I hope that you find this as interesting as I do. And I actually agree with Dr. Magnus that this is indeed one of the greatest archaeological discoveries since the Dead Sea Scrolls. So here's the conversation. I hope you enjoy.
Herodium is one of Herod's fortified desert palaces, right?
Right.
Um, but it's also the only site that Herod built and named after himself. He always named everything he built after someone, but Herodium is the only one, apparently, that he named after himself. And he named it after himself, apparently, because he planned it to be his final resting place after his death and an everlasting memorial to himself. And we know this because Josephus tells us that when Herod died in 4 BC, in spring of 4 BC at his palace in Jericho, his winter palace in Jericho, his body was taken by procession to Herodium and he was buried there. Now, Ehud Netzer, who was an Israeli archaeologist who spent many years excavating sites associated with Herod, including Herodium, spent a very long time looking for Herod's tomb at Herodium. We archaeologists debated for a very long time where exactly Herod was buried at Herodium. His tomb had not been found. Herodium is this artificial conical shaped mountain. There are structures built inside the top of it, which is like the crater of a volcano. And then there are also buildings at the base of it. And there was a debate, was Herod buried in the top or inside the mountain or at the base of the mountain? And Netzer literally spent decades looking for the tomb. And finally, in 2007, he discovered the tomb, which turned out to be a mausoleum halfway up the side of the mountain. And actually, as I write in my article, and I have actually said this too, unfortunately, the discovery of Herod's tomb at Herodium, which I personally consider to be the single most important archaeological discovery in Palestine since the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Unfortunately, that very important discovery, was overshadowed because at the same time it was discovered and announced, a false documentary, falsely claiming that the tomb of Jesus and his family had been discovered in Jerusalem.
Wow.
That was broadcast at the same time on the Discovery Channel, and that sucked out all of the public attention. And the very important discovery of Herod's tomb at Herodium kind of got overlooked in all of the noise. The reason why I say I think the discovery of Herod's tomb at Herodium is so important is because we don't have any firsthand information about Herod. We don't have anything that he wrote himself that has come down to us telling us what Herod thought, what he did. What we have are accounts of others, mostly filtered. So Josephus, who is probably the main source for Herod, right, draws on a lost biography of Herod by Nicolaus of Damascus. And the way that Josephus presents Herod is in a very negative way. So what we have with Herod's tomb at Herodium, firsthand, is Herod telling us how he wanted to be remembered for posterity. And so I wrote this very long article about it. And there have been, as you know, some people have questioned, some of my colleagues have questioned whether in fact the mausoleum that Netzer discovered is the tomb of Herod, because there are no inscriptions associated with the mausoleum or the sarcophagi there. I believe actually, for various reasons, and I don't think we have time to go into it, but I think, again, if people are interested, they can look up the Journal of Ancient Judaism for December of 2019 and look at it, that for various reasons, it is indisputable that this, in fact, is the tomb of Herod. And as a consequence, and I'm just going to throw this out as a firebomb and I won't explain it, but I think that one of the things that we see from the mausoleum of Herod, and this is something that was already suggested a long time ago by a very eminent scholar on Herod, whose name was, sorry, I'm blanking now. Anyway, never mind. One of the things that I throw out, that I'm going to throw out, is that I think that the tomb of Herod, the mausoleum of Herod at Herodium, shows us that Herod claimed to have fulfilled the expectations associated with the Jewish Messiah.